if nothing changes. So just to reiterate what Nye was saying, when you're afraid to do something, if you keep doing the same thing, we also know that that's the definition of insanity. You can't expect changes if you're doing the same exact thing. We spoke about those children going around that mountain in Israel. If they just kept going around that mountain, how are they ever going to ascend? They had to do something differently. We have to, stepping out on faith, stepping out and doing it differently is scary. And then there also is so much power in speaking your truth. I know for me, when I started to just speak truth, I felt empowered within myself. It wasn't about what it meant for other people, because other people's experiences are not going to be my experience. And I had to get comfortable with my experiences and understanding what that meant for me and how that translated into, for instance, me being overly talkative and not always listening, always wanting to defend, always wanting to control, and understanding where that came from and why I overused my throat chakra when I had to balance it. So it was always understanding, as I said, coming into that balance, but also, if you've never been quiet before, you have to do it. And that was like, what? What do you mean? But in being quiet, you listen, because what we learned about communication is not just what you speak, it's what you hear. So there's a balance in it all.
So I was asking about embarrassment because any of the things that we've discussed, embarrassment is a obstacle. People have been afraid to raise their hand in class to learn more. You can't know more if you don't ask or raise your hand. Embarrassment, believing that the things that have happened to me has not happened to others. And if they haven't happened, if they have not happened to others or others haven't spoken about it, you could be that change maker. You could be that person that says, I want to become free. I think that we need to make it known that freedom in religion, and as you go into spirituality, means that you address things that did not feel good in your life. And that's where blockages are moved. A lot of people are discussing obstacles and being attacked, spiritually, but it's self-attacks because you are not speaking your truth. If you have a panic attack, it's generally something that is embedded in your body, in your anatomy, that's trying to get out. We have been taught to think that everything was against us when everything is for us when we address the situations. Of course, a lot of us have to find the situation. If a situation has caused you depression, if something was happening at a certain time in your life and it took your joy, you want to find the root of the depression so that your creativity can expand. The embarrassment and shame is what keeps individuals stuck in a place where they can't move forward. They look at one success of their life, so to speak, and they don't see the further progress of success. And some people haven't seen success because they don't acknowledge that they were successful enough to get out of it, such as domestic violence. Domestic violence can take on a blockage in the root and the sacral because there's no security in the home and there is no joy. There's no production. So we have people that are living in circumstances of poor consciousness because they don't know how to unblock or to get out of that, which meditation does for you. Some will pray. It's going to be a different journey for everyone, but the key is being connected to someone that can give you understanding on how to do that. And I've experienced that with many people. You got different paths. So I show you different paths on how to get there. All right.
Absolutely. And, you mentioned embarrassment, and I think that is so huge, because, for the many, many years of my life, I struggled with eating disorders. And that's something that I kept hitting, but it was because, I grew up with self-image issues. But it's so interesting is that, with anything when it comes to healing and we're talking about the sacral chakra specifically, it comes with a decision that you have to make to say, no, I'm going to do something different. This is not who I am. I'm not going to do this anymore. And, and it's not going to be easy all the time. But that embarrassment is something that we, I think, hold against ourselves and keep us from moving, which keeps us from moving forward. But, I can remember times of feeling the urge to, um, you know, purge or whatever it's called. And no, I said, no, that's not who I am anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. And to be honest, I think anything that becomes an imbalance is because there's a certain addiction to it. And I mean, someone who, like me, who grew up with an eating disorder, it was because I grew up overweight and it was frowned upon. So once I lost the weight and, began, because I developed an addiction to an eating disorder and I received what I thought was positive feedback, it just fueled me. Oh, this must be okay, not realizing the damage that you're really doing, excuse my voice, to yourself. So yeah.
And I also think shame, because embarrassment will lead to shame, where you don't even want to discuss, you don't want to talk about it, you don't want to think about it, and you kind of feel guilty. It's so much that goes into those because they all lead into each other. I'll say personally, when I lost my father, not that I was embarrassed to talk about being depressed. One, I didn't fully understand that I was going through a depression, but then when I did understand it, I felt guilty. Like, how could I be depressed? Like, how could I go through this for so long? I experienced it for about 5 years and I had no idea. I was just functioning. I was going to work, taking care of my family, doing everything that I could do, being supportive for my sisters and my mother. But I was negating my own feelings about it and pushing them down because this person needed me and I needed to be there for them. So I started to feel guilty. And then when I finally freed myself from it, I had to deal with the fallout, because there were fallouts with friendships, fallouts in relationships, fallouts even with myself, because I realized, wow, I wasn't happy. There was no joy in my life at all. None. And I have a little girl and she's the light of my life. But honestly, I didn't enjoy parenting her. I didn't enjoy the time I was spending with her because I, I didn't enjoy anything. So I did feel guilty. And that mom guilt stayed with me for a while until I just said, you know what? I can't change the past. I can only be better moving forward. So I have to recognize those triggers, those things that'll make me feel depressed. So aside from getting in system coaching sessions with Miss Kim, I recognize working out. I recognize eating better. I recognize the things that brought me joy, spending time with her, dancing with her, laughing with her, watching movies, and filled my life more with those instead of just sitting in dark rooms and depressing and maybe not showering for a couple of days and not recognizing it. So I felt guilty, but I also didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want anybody to know. So I hid it. But you get free and you release that when you finally start talking and just, like I said, speaking your truth, speaking your experience is so powerful. And it's so, like, I'm not saying I would want to do it the same exact way, because, hindsight is 2020. Knowing what I know now, I probably would want to do it differently. But maybe not, because what insight it's given me.
This conversation, getting into it, one of the things that I realize is that, not today, but always, is that I pull at transparency for people. Why? Because those lies that we live and that are embedded in us become toxic, or they are the toxicity that we live. It's the way that we've been. And to bring change means that I'm cutting through. Oh, you know what? The sacral chakra is about creativity. It is, but first we got to get it functioning properly. We need for people to understand that embarrassment and shame comes before joy and happiness, because I must realize why I was embarrassed or that I was embarrassed. Those factors are not always prominent in our understanding with life. So if I was embarrassed about depression, I tell everyone that I live a life of depression. I know when it's coming, and that's why I study behavior health. I don't just study theology. I had to study psychology as well. Why? Because I would help people come out of the depths of who they've been to come forward into who they are. And that means that no, you're not talking to me when you come in. What coaching looks like or advisory, it looks like you're talking about your problems because you trust yourself now. If you come into coaching, you're trusting me and you, and then you're moving forward. You even learning what it's like to trust again, because some people don't trust themselves. Amen. So you guys give them an email address where they can contact you, and we will be back on next week, Wednesday. I meant Monday. I'm sorry. I'm in a daze. Yeah. Email address.
You can reach me at Townsend, TOWNSEND 714 @gmail.com for business grace for any of your business coaching and consulting needs.
And you can reach me at Naila Oni Speaks. That's NAILAHONI Speaks @gmail.com. And I can be found on Instagram with the same name. Thank you.
All right. So anyone needs prayer, go to my email address, and we'll see you next week. Blessings to our producer. Amen and amen. Thank you guys for viewing.
Thank you.
Hey, what's up? This your boy Sean Davis, aka S. Dot, with my man
Larry Wrencher, aka King Wrencher.
We are graciously asking you and inviting you to check out our show, Subjects Over Surface, on the Lit TV network.
Hello, I am Dr. Michelle L.K. Raven. I'm so excited to invite you to join me on Mondays at 7:30 on the Lit TV network on your Roku device for Building Your Capacity with Reverend Dr. M.L.K. Raven. I have been blessed to have a 22-year Air Force career and also have done ministry all over the world. And I've met so many amazing people, and I want you to get to know them as well. These are people that are living everyday lives, but they found their purpose, or they're on their journey to their purpose, and they're making an impact in the world. You will see how they fulfill their passions through everyday things and how they impact other lives. And as you see those things, you will be able to see your purpose and see how you can make an impact as well. So join me on Mondays at 7:30 on the Lit TV network on your Roku device. You won't be disappointed.